Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. And how are you, Sally?
Hey, Harry, all the better for seeing you in blue today. Ooh,
Yeah,
lovely.
that's right. Little dog on the tie today.
Oh, little dogs. Oh, cute. Cute.
So today we're going to talk about bright, sensitive kids. And these are kids that float my boat, and it's what I've built my practice on. And I love them because there's so much potential that's
Yeah.
unrealized, and we can lift them up.
Yeah. It's just, I am so excited about today because I want to learn so much from you. I've done some research into it and it really opened my eyes and made me feel quite sad. Just because it's just, 20% of the population and my stats, and you of course will have proper stats on this, but it says are born with a gene that allows them to process sensory data much more deeply and thoroughly than other people. Is that right? Is it about 20% of all kids? How many bright, sensitive kids are there?
It's hard to know. I mean, the best stats I could find was from an Australian Association for the Education of Gifted and Talented, and they reckon about 10%
Right.
of the student population is gifted
Oh,
and
right.
talented. So that's 300,000 students around.
Yep.
So it's in the average class of 30, you got about 3.
Yeah. It's pretty
Um,
high. Mm.
yeah. Now, a lot of them are, in the US, they reckon between 6 and 10%. About 25% of gifted kids. So there's very, very flexible definitions, but about a quarter of gifted kids have social and emotional issues because they're sensitive.
Sensitive, yeah.
Yeah, and around about a quarter are sensitive. Who knows? Yes, it runs in families. Yes, they have trouble connecting because as youngsters because their play is more complex. And the other kids don't relate to it. They want simple play. So I've entitled this this session "Bright, Bored, and Bypassed" because this is what happens to them at school. So that, or we could call them gifted, talented, and tarnished.
I like that one.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reason is because they're much more difficult to engage because they're complex thinkers, they're deep thinkers, they're easily hurt because they're sensitive.
Yep.
They're more likely to get overwhelmed because they're sensitive, and they're more likely to get discouraged if you don't meet their needs. So what are they going to do to you if you're a teacher? They're probably going to disrupt, or they're going to withdraw.
Yep.
So they're either going to make your life really hard because they're going to disrupt. They may make jokes, be a class clown. That's a common strategy for a bright kid who's bored and struggling.
Yep.
Or they may withdraw. And this is, these are character-driven responses. And if they withdraw, and if they're a girl, they probably fly under the radar, girl or boy. So they're not noticed.
Yep.
So they may be sitting around the class average, where they should be right up there.
Exactly. Look, I love this. And understanding that everything is complex, like their play is complex from a small age. I thought they couldn't deal with the noise and the crowds, and that's why they solo played. But you're saying that it's because their play is more.
Absolutely. They can have sensory issues. So, in my understanding of life, you get an endowment of talents, whatever they are.
Yep.
If you are really well endowed, over endowed in one area, you're going to be under endowed in another area. So these bright and gifted and talented kids who are highly sensitive often get overwhelmed easily because they have difficulty processing sensory information. So they have auditory processing disorder, they have sensory processing disorder, they're somewhere on the spectrum, and so on. Universities are full of people on the spectrum because they're really good at focusing at one particular thing. Just ask me about, stars in the Andromeda galaxy, and I'll tell you I'm the world expert. But if you want to know, if you want me to cook a meal, forget it.
Yeah.
If you want me to listen to you, forget it.
Yeah.
So I mean, the characteristics that you know that I see in these bright and talented kids are they're curious.
Mm-hmm.
They start off eager to learn, but they're easily disappointed and discouraged. They have big vocabularies. They have talents for patterns. They're creative. They're energetic. They're empathetic. They're intuitive. They're diligent. They've got great humor. They've got vivid imagination. They're highly sensitive. So that means they're easily hurt.
Yep.
They notice subtleties. They're deep thinkers.
Mm.
They're easily overstimulated. So, you know, they're more fragile.
Yeah, very. And what about attention span?
Well, again, it depends on their capacity to cope with information flows, sensory flows.
Yep.
If the classroom is too noisy, too loud, too busy,
yep,
they're going to overwhelm, and then they're going to disrupt or withdraw.
Yeah, I love it. Disrupt it. Just drop my pen. Excuse me. There we go. Yeah, right. So, you know, with such a high percentage per classroom on average, you know, the noise is an issue for a lot with the overwhelm, just too much going on or even too many commands. And, you know, there's a lot of challenges for teachers then to work with kids or notice the kids, the ones that are disrupting or withdrawing, and, you know, taking it the next step. What's going on here? Stopping and analysing what's going on with kids, and could it be this? Could it be that? Could it be that they are, you know, particularly bright or sensitive? Because as you said, you know, they're not often not achieving their full potential because of the environment that they're in, and it's just limiting them with their overwhelm, anxiety, whatever, with the noise or, you know, light or, you know, whatever it is.
And the anxiety is really common. Yeah. And one of the ways that you can identify if anxiety is deeply entrenched is to sit your child on the floor, cross-legged, get them to look at a point about 4 meters away, kneel down beside them, and rock them forwards and backwards and side to side.
Yeah.
And you will feel if their core is locked up.
Yeah.
And if it's locked up, you know pretty much that they are stressed, strong long-term stress.
Yeah, you have mentioned that to me before. And
some of them, when you rock them, actually, one of the sit bones, if you rock them from side to side, one of the sit bones will actually lift off the floor.
Right.
They're so locked up.
Yeah.
Which is unbelievable, really.
Yeah. Wow. So, and
Julian Treasure, who's an English guy who's made a career out of understanding the impact of the built environment and sound, auditory acoustics, if you like, you know, has done quite a few talks on how badly classrooms are designed. It doesn't cost any more to make a classroom quiet than it does noisy, and most of the classrooms are full of hard surfaces. They're just disasters. Bright flickering lights, fluoro lights, and hard surfaces. And LEDs aren't any better for some of these kids because they're rich in blue light and so on. Just supplants the flickering with another issue. Yeah,
right. You touched on before that they're quite emotional and was it empathetic? Empathetic, I think you said. So that's a strong trait, that they're empathetic towards others or other people's situations, feeling for other people. Yeah.
So they'll have high EQ often, as well as IQ, emotional quotient. So if they see something that's unfair, somebody being bullied, they might intervene and stand up for them.
Yeah.
But often they're bullied themselves because they're different, because they don't fit in, and maybe they don't, not sporty.
Yeah.
Fit in the Australian stereotype.
Yeah, because I find, what about sensitive, as in, you know, love snuggles, kisses, cuddles, you know, touching things. You know, I was reading, you know, like snuggly toys really like to sort of snuggle up or touch, get that sensory feeling.
So some of that's just about the physical sensory processing. So some kids, to feel normal, have under-sensitive light or deep touch receptors.
Yeah.
And so to feel normal, they need lots and lots and lots of snuggles, or lots and lots and lots of bear hugs.
Yeah.
So one of the features of some in the autistic spectrum is that they need that deep pressure.
Right. Yeah.
Temple Grandin, who's made really a career out of this, she made herself a cattle press to make herself feel normal, to ground herself. Yeah.
Wow.
And what that whole exploration engendered was this thing about weighted blankets, weighted clothing. And we can put, a weighted waistcoat on a child and they'll feel more normal and less overloaded.
Yeah.
So they can cope with other sensory flows, like listening to the teacher. Yeah.
Some of the names that popped up when I was researching around: Elton John, bright sensitive kid; Frank Lloyd Wright, Mozart. He was very gifted and talented. They had Martin Luther King, a whole heap of people. But we were talking before, the Patch Adams guy. I can't think of his name. The actor, Robin Williams. That's it. Extremely clever and sensitive, but overly sensitive. And had massive depression at the end before he died.
Yeah. And that's the wonderful thing about Brené Brown's work, when she talks about vulnerability, is if you can realize as an adult, if you're bright and sensitive, to allow yourself to be vulnerable, then that's when you can really connect. That's one of the reasons why I love networking, is because you can do this in a safe space.
Yeah.
Super cool.
So, to cope with life, it's about understanding yourself, and I suppose having tools that you're able to use to deal with the challenge.
Well, the children don't have tools. They're partly formed, so they're in survival. It's really up to particularly the parents, because they're the ones that live with them all the time. The teachers are, really under stress. They've lost their status. They've lost their ability to discipline. They're stuck with challenging kids in their classroom, and the challenging kids will suck their time out. They're really hard. So, my model is really, if you're a carer or you're a teacher, observe the behaviours. Pay attention to the behaviours, perceive the behaviours, and then probe for the causes. I encourage all my clients to become detectives.
Yeah.
Look for the reason until you find it, and then you can develop, partnerships with others to deliver solutions, and that'll allow you to unlock, the potential. You can't do it by yourself.
No, and I just think you knocked the nail on the head there when saying it's parents, because if the kids are too young to have the tools, but it's recognising as a parent that your child is bright and sensitive, and reading through all the bits and pieces around it, it's like, oh wow. And I could probably think of a couple of other kids that I know that are very bright, sensitive kids, but misunderstood. And as a parent, the sooner we can be aware of that it's individual differences within kids, and that wow, it's frightening to think the kids can go unrecognised or not diagnosed, whatever. That's not the word I want to use, but recognising that they are bright and a little bit different in the sense that they're overly sensitive. It makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you can think of some of the politicians, like probably there's a Victorian Premier I can think of who went on to, do lots of good work with Beyond Blue. Prime Minister, who we had, who was super bright and easily hurt. So, they occur in all walks of life and, achieve various levels of achievement, but they often get left behind.
Yeah, no, it's I think it's a really good topic to discuss. I did a little model, but it was just based on what I was sort of researching and where I was at. First one was space. If you can get some space to reduce your overwhelm and anxiety, get some more downtime, whatever, it helps. And then the sense your environment. So be looking at the noise, the smells, the lights, having an adequate environment that reduces the sensitivity to your environment, then you're going to reduce your stress. And then if you're sensing your environment and having it so it's soothing and quiet and in line with keeping you calm, and you include more snuggles, kisses and cuddles, you're going to just be overall more calm and at peace. And then when you're getting more snuggles, kisses and cuddles and got that space to reduce your overwhelm and anxiety, just overall you're more peaceful. And overall, once you've got the space, you've got you're sensing the environment, it's nice and calm and cool, and you're getting lots of snuggles, you're just going to soar in life.
Very good. Very good. I like the snuggles.
Snuggles. Cuddles or kisses. I always say to my kids, what do you prefer, cuddles or kisses? And some prefer kisses and some prefer cuddles. But overall, you can't beat a good old snuggle.
You can't. And you often see in a movie when a couple have been, gone through some terrible, challenging situation, and then they kiss.
Yeah.
I often think, no, that's not right. You'd have a cuddle.
You can't beat that.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
It's the best. It just, no matter how upset you are, if someone puts their arm around you and gives you a big cuddle, and it's just like, is that cute?
I think you're a queen of the cuddles.
Yeah, I am. Oh, love cuddles. It's just that connection, It's just you're not on your own. There's something there that's being shared or relieved or whatever. It's the connection. So you can't beat it.
Yeah, oxytocin burst. Mm. You know about the 18 seconds or longer?
No, what's that? Share that one.
If you cuddle for more than 18 seconds, you release oxytocin, which is what happens to a breastfeeding mum.
Right.
That's the neurotransmitter that makes you feel so good when you do that.
Right.
Well, it's one of them. It's the prime one.
Yeah, I didn't realise it was 18 seconds. I knew it was a certain amount of time of hanging on.
It's quite a long time, actually.
So when you're breastfeeding, the baby gets the rush. Does the mother get the rush as well? I can't remember.
Yeah. Yes, both. Yes. It's about building that bond. Yeah, you get that. Oxytocin's a wonderful feeling.
Yeah, well, I breastfed all my kids to 15 months. So I must have been on a high. I was back in that surreal cloud. But
Yeah.
Felt very nice.
I often think that's, one of the most wonderful things you could do.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to love feeding them a bottle occasionally, but so much nicer. Just body to body.
I tried doing twins though when they wouldn't do it together. So by the time they were crawling, I'd have one on and the other would be crawling up my back, pulling my hair, trying to pull the other one off so that they could get their turn. It was hilarious. Even funnier when they started biting. Not.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back to the topic, right sensitive kids, it is, look, I didn't realise there was such a high percentage in the population these days. And it is a challenge to recognise it in the classroom particularly and to deal with them so that they can reach their full potential rather than have it hindered because of all the environmental stuff that's going on and causing the stress, the overwhelm, the anxiety. It's
Well, it's really at home, I think, where the real challenge lies, because you'll see them coming back from school, they play up.
Yeah.
They
meltdown.
Give you hell sometimes. But it's about understanding the why.
Yeah.
Like I had a little boy yesterday, he came in. He is super bright. The father is just off the chart. He's just a walking brain. And this little boy sat down, we're doing a 100-piece puzzle, and he spent the whole time fighting it. Fought it for about 70 minutes out of the 80 minutes. Hands like this, like this, like this, just like that the whole time. And, Mum and me, we just pretty much worked the whole time just to get him at the table, couldn't do anything else, and actually in the end I took the chairs away so I couldn't sit down, and we just said, this is what you got to do, you know. In the end I had to feed the pieces to him, you know. Can you make a dog out of these pieces? Can you put these together? Can you put that girl together? And he finished it with this massive scaffolding. But what I said to the mum at the end of the session was, and it was so hard, it's so hard, and I became frustrated. It's just unbelievably hard. I said, you know, what happened at school today? This is not him. This is a product of what happened to him today. So she'll go off and maybe find out what it was, or maybe not. But, you know, if a kid left you in a good state in the morning and comes back behaving like shit, then there's got to be a reason.
Yeah,
it's about
emotional outbursts where they've hung on, and then just it's like they've got to like this.
When they feel safe.
Yeah.
Oh. And if they're bright and sensitive, the stuff gets in really deep, and they may not show it. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
So I used to get so bored at school. I remember when I was at boarding school, one time I just got so bored. And there was a boarding school when I was a kid in England, and there's this big staircase, stone staircase with metal railings. On the outside of the railings, there was this little tiny projection of each stair. And I thought it'd be fun to climb up those, holding onto the stair, the stair rail. So I went right up the top. I was hauled up in front of the headmaster and, you know, given the appropriate punishment.
Was it?
But I never understood what I'd done wrong, because I didn't think it was dangerous. I just thought it was interesting and fun. I just got a bit bored.
Yeah.
I think I got 6 of the best, as I recall.
Another knock on the principal's belt. Oh dear, funny.
Yeah.
Oh, Harry, funny, very funny. I love talking to you. Well, complex play that was, hey?
Yeah. But, you know, it was interesting. We were always given the choice of the birch. Birch on the bare bottom or a detention. We were given the choice.
Wasn't belt?
No, they were a bundle of birch twigs.
Right.
They hurt. Wow, they hurt. But I always chose them because I couldn't stand the thought of a detention. You know, it could be a whole day. Get it over in a minute.
Oh man.
Yeah.
When did corporal punishment go out? I remember having it at primary school.
Yeah.
70s?
Well, now there's all this moral stuff. Oh my God, you've been such a bad boy. And that carries a weight which goes through into your soul sometimes.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
It actually can be more damaging.
Yeah, it's the emotional side as opposed to.
It's politically correct. Wow. Yes, we're suffocating in political correctness. Yeah.
We are. We totally are.
Yeah.
It's frightening.
So yeah, I mean, corporal punishment is not good, and it's really damaging if it's done with anger. But all I can say is that when I was at school, it was around, and we were always given a choice, and it never affected me. So all I can do is my personal journey. Yeah.
Absolutely, and you're doing that admirably, particularly with those ties on. Did you say that was little dogs on your tie?
They are little dogs, yeah. They are little dogs.
Oh, cute. Are they Scotty dogs? I think so.
Yeah, little Scotty dogs. Yeah.
Cute.
I've got a little girl later who loves them, so.
You're so good. And I mean, this is everything that you do is work with bright, sensitive kids. So I've really enjoyed this topic and learning a lot more about it and researching about it. Makes me sad, but it also says, well, you know, once you know, then you can do something about it and be more empathetic yourself and help kids that understand them better and work with them.
So, Sally, do you think you were a bright, sensitive kid?
Ooh, no. No, I don't know. Who knows?
You're super empathetic.
I am extremely empathetic, yes. I'm very emotional.
Sensitive.
Very sensitive. Yes. Can cry like that. Tell me a sad story, or tell me a happy story. I'll cry.
Yeah.
Should have been there. Don't make me cry, Harry.
Maybe you are, and you were, and you never knew.
Never knew it.
That's the thought of the day.
Oh, I love that one. All right, I'll go and ponder that as I dim the lights,
Yeah.
shut the noise out, retreat
It's
back
good.
on the shelf.
Good to cry. It's good to cry.
It is. It is. All right, beautiful. Well, thank you for today. I've really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you. It's always a privilege to talk with you.
Yes, and I get to catch up with you in real life on Friday.
Yeah. That's
and we can have some snuggles.
Yeah, absolutely.
We do snuggles. That's always good. It's always a highlight to see you in person, Harry.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to it.
Can't wait. All right, darling. I'll see you on Friday.
Okay. Bye. See you.